I get a lot of people asking me how we were blessed to walk away from corporate America in our early 30s. Well, listen, I don't want to keep that a secret. I want to share it with the world. And so maybe you're listening to this podcast and you're trying to figure out, how do I even get started on my journey of entrepreneurship and getting to a level of freedom? Well, text the word freedom to 737 777 9909. Enter your information in, and we look forward to sharing some information with you. A proven system with small overhead, right? That you can do part-time, spare time, right from the comfort of your home, and have amazing mentors, coaches, and a community of entrepreneurs who are willing to support you and help you on your journey to freedom. Welcome to Code Freedom. I'm your host, Eddie Bales. Have you ever felt stuck? Have you ever felt like there's got to be more than life than the reality that you see every day? Tune in weekly, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays as we crack the codes to freedom in every area of your life. Welcome to Code Freedom. This is your host, Eddie Bales, and this is episode 208. In today's episode, I'm excited because I'm going to share with you one of the major codes to freedom. And as you all know, I love documentaries. I love growing from other people and learning from other people. And so I was watching the documentary and I saw this in it and I just thought, wow, this is powerful. Got to share it with the Code Freedom audience. And so it was talking about Nina Simone, and frankly, I didn't really know who Nina Simone is, but she's a singer, songwriter. She was a civil rights activist from back in the day, and she said something. They asked her, "What is freedom to her?" And she said something that I thought was so powerful. She said, "Freedom is no fear. Freedom is no fear." And I just thought, wow, that is powerful because, I mean, if you really think about it, one of the biggest reasons why we don't do some of the things that we know we should do is because of fear, right? I mean, some of us we have a fear of failing. Some of us have a fear of success. Like, oh my gosh, if I actually succeed, what will people think of me? Will they think that I'm like a sellout, or will they think that I'm egotistical or things like that? Some of us are afraid of rejection. We won't get the success that we want because we're so afraid of hearing the word no from someone else. Some of us, we're just afraid of what other people think, right? We're afraid. I mean, there's so many things that we can fear, right? And she says that freedom is no fear. And have you ever met the person that has no fear? Like they have all the reasons why they should fear, yet they don't. You know what I mean? Like, I've met these people, like, wait, wow, like, you're a little rough around the edges. It's not like the person may be like smooth and polished and things like that, yet they don't care, right? And so something had to get them to a place where they said, look, I don't care what anybody says. I may not be perfect, I may not have it all together, but I just don't care. And that is a true place of freedom. So I'm introducing this concept to you today, but I think this is worth having a couple other episodes on it because I just think it's so powerful. I want to read something to you though. Earl Nightingale, they call him one of the godfathers of personal development. And he said this. He said that if you took 100 people, now this was years ago, but he said if you took 100 people at the age of 25, by 65, only one of them would be rich, four of them would be financially independent, five of them will still be working, and 54 of them would be broke. Now, I don't know what happens with the rest of them because there's some math there that doesn't add up. But just know that obviously the majority of them are not doing well. And he says one of the reasons why most people don't succeed is that last one is because they're afraid of what people will think. Like for instance, I'll be honest, you know, in the beginning of me really getting out there on social media, I was cool posting quotes and posting pictures and things like that. And then, the trend started to change and it started to be more video. And I said, "Oh, nah, I'm not getting in front of the video," right? Because I don't want to say I was afraid, but I mean, I guess I have to say I was afraid um, of what maybe people would think, right? Maybe I didn't identify it at the time, but if I really would have looked back, if I didn't care, if I had no fear of what people would think, I would do the video and I wouldn't care, right? You would do the video, right? But the reality is, most of us don't even want to get on camera. We don't want to be the one in front. We don't want to be the one that uh, is putting ourselves out there because we are concerned. What if someone says this, or what if someone thinks this? And look, I get negative comments on some of the stuff that I post all the time, and I have to take it with a grain of salt, and I have to like keep it moving, right? Because at the end of the day, I cannot care what someone else thinks, because that is going to prohibit me from living out my destiny, my purpose, the things that God has called me to do. And I can't let what one person thinks stop me from achieving what God has purpose for me to do on this earth. And you can't let that happen. Does that make sense? So the key, guys, is that we have to get to this no fear zone. How can we get ourselves to a place where we don't care what other people think? And again, that's not the only thing. Um, there's so many things that we fear, right? The key is not to fear itself, right? To get to a place where I heard someone say that. They said, the only thing I fear is being afraid. The only thing I fear is every episode we talk about stretching ourselves and growing ourselves and becoming better. And I get it. You're busy, you're on the go. You don't always have time to stop and maybe read a book. Well, listen, I got the perfect thing for you. You're probably familiar with Audible. Audible is an audiobook service from Amazon, and they offer the world's biggest selection of books. I'm talking any book that I've recommended, and I've recommended a lot. You can get that book and you can listen to it on the go while you're in the car. Why not turn your car into Drive Time University? And for listening to this podcast, you can get your first 30 days free on us. So go to audibletrial.com/code freedom. That's audibletrial.com/code freedom. And we'll also put that in the show notes. Don't fear, is what I'm basically saying. So we're going to really do a deep dive on this topic, because this right here, I mean, just think about it. I mean, what would you do if you weren't afraid? Right? One of my partners always tells a huge story, and I have to get him on our podcast. Powerful, powerful friend of mine and gentleman. But but he always goes back to the book "Who Moved My Cheese," and he says, "What would you do if you weren't afraid? What would you do if you weren't afraid?" I mean, and at the time, he always talks about how he was afraid of flying. He didn't mind going to some events that he had to go to where he could drive, but if it was going to be on the other side of the country, and he wasn't driving on the other side of the country, and he also wasn't trying to fly, right? But he faced that fear. He faced it head on, and of course, he's having major success today, and has been for a long time. And so, that's a key question, and it's in the book "Who Moved My Cheese." If you haven't read it, what would you do if you weren't afraid? Man, we would do a lot of things if we weren't afraid. We would do, I mean, we would do the video, we would do the podcast, we would write the book, we would stop procrastinating sometimes. We would stop we would talk to everybody about our opportunity or about our business, or we would be relentless, honestly, right? There's so many things that we could do if we weren't afraid. And that's why it is a big key to freedom, because as Nina Simone said, she said, they ask again, what is freedom to you? And she says, no fear. She says, no fear. And we got to get to that place. We have to find a way. You've heard it said, fear is false evidence appearing real. And for some reason, we have created a reality that is false. That's not true. We've done it, and we've made it so real that it paralyzes us. You guys have heard the story of the gentleman that was in he was stuck in a freezer. It's out of the book Think and Grow Rich, and he was stuck in a freezer. I've told this story on a podcast. So if you go back and look at any of our podcasts that talks about fear, I talked about this, I'm sure. But he was stuck in a refrigerator, and he, of course, he's freaking out. He doesn't know what to do. He's in the freezer for hours and hours and hours, and finally, when they find him, he was dead. But the interesting thing is the freezer was off, so he basically like almost brought himself to a death because he thought the freezer was on, and he basically willed himself into his own unfortunate death because the freezer was off. So there's no way he could have died from it freezing. He couldn't have frozen to death because it was off, right? So again, what are we afraid of that's stopping us where our destiny is right on the other side? Our success is right on the other side, but we're afraid. Like some of us are afraid of doing the work that's necessary. Some of us are afraid of failing. That we're afraid of losing. We're afraid of not being good enough. There's so many things. I'm telling you, there's a long list of them. I'm sure you could give me some things that you might be afraid of, and I'd love to hear some of them. So we have to conquer that because once we conquer that, nothing else can stop us. Nothing. So go out there, conquer fear, and we are definitely going to have another episode on this because I just think it's one of those most critical pieces as it relates to freedom. Because yes, we could talk about having your passive income greater than your expenses. We could talk about spiritual freedom and freedom and relationship freedom. But if fear is an underlying thing, then it will halt us. It will paralyze us from all the things that we are supposed to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Definitely appreciate all you guys for your continued support, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Take care. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys for listening. Definitely feel free to take a screenshot of this episode, tag me in it on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you find me on social media. I would love to give you a shout out. Hey, you might even get a prize. Who knows? But excited that you had a chance to take a listen. I hope you got a lot of value. And definitely feel free to give us 5 stars as well as a review. Show us some love, and we appreciate you. God bless you all, and see you all over the top.